Call to order. Board meeting, February 8th at 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is public input. Would you like to speak, young lady? No?
Good job. It's a positive compliment.
You wanted to get a raise, is that what you said?
You're doing a good job.
Because George has to leave early because of a procedure he had today, we're going to move item number 7 up to before the minutes. Item 7 is the meter installation bid. We shall have a copy of that.
And the bid documentation is right after the financial report. Number 7. And we had received 4 bids. The low bidder was considerably lower than the other bids, so we did have some concerns. We did have the engineer on the project review the references on this contractor. He also happened to be working on a project with the engineer at the time, on a similar sized project. He said he's actually doing a very good job in doing all of the things that we specified in our bid documents, so, which were pretty extensive. It took us a while to put them together, mainly because we wanted to make sure they were very detailed, or we got exactly what we wanted. There's a lot of information to be collected and recorded and then transferred into our system electronically. So we have the evaluation of Weston and Sampson, and actually the bid comparisons, but we are recommending that Bay State Wind Supply Company be awarded the meter installation bid in the amount of $716,066.40.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for discussion.
Second. Okay. Discussion?
I understand it's a Bristol, that's a Bristol company?
Yes, it
That's the
is.
same question.
It's one of the reasons he is able to bid so low. He has his staff here and his facilities are here.
Excuse me, on the bid tax sheet, it shows them as a Bridgewater, Mass. company. Are they actually registered as a contractor, or are they licensed in Rhode Island?
Oh, yeah.
Do they have something more than a storefront?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Ken, you have a comment?
It's a Massachusetts company, but the principals both reside in Bristol.
Oh, but do they have their company located in Bristol?
No,
They
the company is located in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
They are Bristol residents.
Okay,
So it was very, it
so
was a-
technically, it's
very-
not a
for them
Bristol.
to work.
It's not a Bristol company, but the people are from Bristol.
Okay, I misspoke because his facilities are here. He has to store all of the meters and the products.
Okay.
Pam, I noticed you said there was 4 bidders, but I only see bids for 3. Is someone not qualified? Or ready to
Actually,
go?
they just showed the evaluation for it. If you go to the last page,
Yeah,
it
there
shows
are 4 on the
the
last
four
page.
bids.
Yeah, Vanguard is the last.
Okay.
You know, my concern is not that it's not great to get a low bid, it's great, but the fact that it's half of what the estimated cost was, and it's almost half of the next lowest one, I'm just concerned. As you look at it and you break it out between equipment and people's time, are you able to determine why this is so much lower?
We did bring the vendor in and we spoke to him. For one thing, the Rhode Island prevailing wage rates are much lower than in Massachusetts. And even though we emphasized that with the other bids, they didn't always pick up on that. The vendor is local. He said he definitely sharpened his pen because he wanted the job here. He's,
Well, there are 2 Massachusetts ones. There's one from Rhode Island and there's one from Kentucky. So that doesn't...
there was the second lowest bidder is a very small firm, probably undersized for this project. And he just used the engineer's estimate for his price.
But even if we negate the labor costs, looking at the individual unit prices on some of the hardware, I don't have my glasses here, but I think it's the smallest, the 1-inch pump, which there are 5,000 of them or so, his pricing is so much lower. And if you look at all of the unit pricing on all of the hardware, it's so much lower. So I've been through this kind of thing before where you get such a wide range of bids and you sit there wondering what's wrong with this picture. And many times we've been pleasantly surprised, and on a number of occasions we sit there going, oh, we're into the extras now type of situation. So it's always puzzling, and I can appreciate what you went through here, but at the same time looking at the hardware and going, how can, is he going to
It's
Ocean
not-
State Job Lot for all of his work?
No,
Those
we're
parts?
providing the hardware.
Yep,
That was a separate bid, all the
What?
hardware. His is only the installation cost,
Oh, this is installation costs.
correct.
Okay, so this would be labor costs.
This is labor only.
Okay.
Okay, so for instance, let's just get into the details here. On the second page, the one that says bid year 2, 5/8 inch through 1-inch Neptune positive displacement water meter. Their unit price is $42.20 versus $61.90, $94.78. That's just for the labor cost of installing that?
Just labor.
Okay. So did you evaluate what their labor cost comes to per hour versus the others?
It all depends on how they work. That's up to the bidder to evaluate essentially how much work he can do in a
Well-
period of time.
Okay, so what I don't know about water main and water meter installation is pretty much total. But if I were asked to evaluate this, you had an estimate at the beginning that this should cost about $1.5 million. So when you back out the amount of time that our consultants estimated, you can come up with something that's 80% accurate as to the time, and you can evaluate what they're estimating on a wage rate versus the others for that same period of time to see, is it reasonable? That's what I'm struggling with.
Well,
Right,
according,
if they had estimated 80 hours to do something, are they putting in 80 hours or are they getting it done in 40 hours? Or at a higher amount of time because their labor rate's less?
Yeah, we don't have the ability, given what we've been provided, to make that kind of evaluation. I hear you say that you talked to somebody with whom they're doing a job right now and they're performing well. And that's great, but this bid is so different from the other 3 that I'm concerned, just as Juan said, that we'll have change orders or...
well, the installation, there's no room for change orders. It's a very
Simple.
strict bid.
Right.
And it's, you said, that's why everything is itemized. You see
Right.
so many itemized
Right, it seems like such a
issues in
straightforward
here because
project.
it covers just about anything we could have thought
Right.
of. So he had to provide a price for that.
Okay.
He says he can make money at this amount. He's got experienced installers. They can go through it pretty quickly. He's doing a similar project right now in Massachusetts. It's almost identical to what we're doing. That's going very well. We don't have a reason at this point to deny the contract.
Oh, I'm not
The
suggesting...
issue would, we're going to be watching him very closely, and we're going to make sure there's a 1-month period where he's got to do a test period of installations, transferring the information electronically, setting up appointments and so on, so we can monitor what he does. But at this point, obviously, if he can't fulfill the contract, we'd go on to the next one, but there's no reason not to award him the contract and make sure he can fulfill the terms of the bid specs.
So he has to meet certain goals, is that correct? In the installation?
Yes,
Okay. In a time frame?
in a time frame.
So if he doesn't meet that, what's our option? What happens then? If he falls behind, something happens to the company or whatever, what are our options at that point?
He has to provide a performance bond,
Okay.
He is bonded, it's fully
Yes.
bonded.
yes.
And is
And
this
you have
price,
standards of the bonding company in terms of their rating and so forth.
Well, they have to provide a bona fide bond, and we generally check those out.
Well, a bona fide bond from a C++ is practically worthless, whereas from an A rated, it's.
It is required to be an A rated.
Double A.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is this price per meter or per hour?
per meter.
Okay, that's so his hourly rate could end up being much more,
Yeah, it could be much different.
much different.
Right, right.
So,
It's
Well, he has to-
it's a pretty straightforward project. You put in a meter, you get paid.
yeah,
You put in another one, you get paid it again. And
Plus,
so-
we do have quite a few multifamily homes where you
Right.
go in one entrance and you do 3 meters
Right,
at one time. So they should have 3 meters done in less than an hour.
yeah,
So, you know, I'm sure he's factored that in.
yeah.
His
Well,
costs.
I'm content to, go with the recommendation of the staff in our consultants, because you have to live with the project the most closely, and that you've evaluated this as you always do. So I'm content with that, but you can appreciate
yeah, sure.
us coming in, looking at it, and seeing these numbers that are so...
Well, you can understand our first response as well.
right.
It's like, well, if we don't use him, then what's the next one like? And that's why he evaluated
Yeah.
the top, the lowest 3, because he said we may have to go to the 3rd one.
Yeah, and the only thing I would suggest here is that, and it doesn't have to be in a form of a motion or anything, is that you just bring back to the contractor when you're meeting with them to finalize everything, is that several board members raised considerable concerns about whether you're going to be able to get it done for this. So they're hoping that you're going to
Yes.
get it done on time and on budget, and we'll be proud of you if you do that.
We hope that with whoever the bidder is.
Right.
I feel comfortable since the people that evaluated them seem to give a good report on it, so.
This company in Cranston, so they were basically bidding
Who did the evaluation?
$94 per meter for installation.
What's an example?
Well, if this guy can't do it, what's the sense? Put the meters in there.
More than that.
They do a lot of meter.
They could do, let's say they could do 3 in 2 hours.
Right.
They're getting, that's almost $300 for 2 hours worth of work, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah, right, right.
Any other?
I hope we can find that kind of a difference when we did the Pawtucket water line.
I don't think it's gonna go down.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor of awarding the bid to Bay State Wind Supply Company in the amount of $716,066.40, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you, George.
George is all done.
Yes. He gets to go.
Tylenol, George.
Moving on to the minutes of December 13th, board meeting.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, anything need changing?
Yeah.
What do you know?
I'd be disappointed.
Well, he's had a lot of time to go through this. What page?
Mike, I don't know if I had it on here or not. My comment is that, we're listing the attendance. I'm sorry, it wasn't on this meeting, it wasn't on this one here.
I had the same comment on the next
Okay,
one.
I'm sorry, it's the next one.
Yeah, me too.
So, no comment on the first one.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Just let the record reflect I was absent, so I didn't vote.
Okay.
So I'd like to move to approve the next minutes, which are January 11th, but I had a question, and that is that in
I don't
indicating...
think, I don't think you brought up, or I didn't bring up the minutes of the executive session on the same day.
Oh, okay. I thought it was all part of the same thing, 'cause it was-
Well, it's broken down on.
we have to approve that separately.
Yes.
They have to be passed.
Okay, move to
Okay.
approve the
Hold on,
minutes
wait.
from the executive session.
Everybody done?
Move to approve the minutes of the executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed.
So on the January 11th minutes, I had a question, and that is that in December, there was an indication that we had several directors absent. And in the January minutes, there were no directors absent. So I'm assuming that we've had a resignation, but that has not been made public.
My understanding that the chairman is working on something like that, Pam, is that what you said regarding the, there's no committee meeting?
I'm assuming we had a resignation from the board.
Yes,
Oh,
we
I'm
did.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that was never shared with the board.
Yeah.
And that should be a public document, because otherwise the minutes in January don't reflect that, the accuracy. I mean, if,
Well, the resignation goes to the town council, and then the council just notified us
Well,
of the resignation, but
excuse me, but to
I
go
think-
along with, that was gonna be my comment, was that we're doing the meetings and we show who's in attendance.
right,
And then we say directors absent, none.
right.
What I was
It's not
hoping to
accurate.
do was that we put in that, beside none, either put it in parentheses or something, that one position open. So if people
Well-
read this and it said there's only 8 members of the board here instead of 9,
Or if you hadn't had notice of her resignation, she was absent. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a simple solution.
so we should at least
But I don't
acknowledge the
know why
fact
this has
that
been on the
Sure.
there's
QT.
an open position when, you know, we say directors absent, none. It's true,
Simply
but
not accurate.
it's not accurate. It doesn't,
Right.
it doesn't show that there's 9 members of the board and there's one open position, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, the only reason it was on the QT is she was talking about resigning, but did not announce it.
Well, she's
Until
absent.
She resigned.
Yeah.
She's absent.
Okay. So in this case, it's correct.
I'm going to.
So you do it either
No,
way,
it's
you know?
not.
Now, we'll have to find out the date.
Her name should be.
Oh, the
And
name
then
should be
we'll-
here. I'm sorry, you're right.
Modify it.
Yes.
Both sets of January, I guess there's only one January meeting, but,
Thank you, Jane.
so with that change, no, there are 2 January meetings.
Right, there's a,
Yeah.
Right.
The special meeting and the regular,
Right,
so
right.
both need to be corrected.
And one other thing I thought on Thursday, January 11th minutes, is because it was a hearing, I think we should have noted that there was no public comment. That was the minutes for the hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Those,
Well, it does say that.
where did I miss that?
It says public input, none.
Is that on the,
It doesn't say that on the public hearing. though.
that's the one I'm talking about?
So it probably should indicate
Say
that for the
that.
public
On the
hearing.
public
Yeah.
hearing, it should.
Yeah.
Public absent.
Right.
all right, so we've had a motion and a second for the minutes of the public hearing on January 11th. Any further discussion?
No changes, yeah.
The changes regarding the
Director,
board member who was
named
absent?
director absent.
I make a motion to accept those minutes as corrected.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Special board meeting, you made the appropriate change regarding the director absent. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I have a comment.
Comments, I'm sorry.
And this is reflected in the public hearing, but the public hearing one would be correct. But in this section under rate increase, the last sentence in there before motion passes unanimously, it says only 28 miles of water main of the 130 miles needed are planned to be replaced in the next 10 years. That's absolutely correct, and that was what was stated. But there was, I know I questioned that, and I think, Gina, you might have questioned it also. There was a discussion about that, and I think what I gathered from the discussion was that we were all sort of surprised it was going to take as long as it will under this schedule to address all of the pipes within the systems that needs to be replaced. And so I thought what came out of that discussion was a consensus that we really need to look at speeding that up. And we recognize, though, that it was being kept at that level of activity to minimize the impacts on the budget.
Yes and no. There's only so much we can do in a year as
Right.
well. And in that, in addition to that is the Pawtucket Pipeline project as well. And the board did request that we redo the capital budget to be able to insert the
Right.
Pawtucket Pipeline in there with the cost that would be involved in that. So we did postpone some of the main replacements. We're not doing quite as much through the next few years as we had originally planned.
Yeah. My only point is, and was said that night, that it was going to take us 40 to 50 years from now to address all the 130 miles of pipe that we know have problems. And we all, I felt, were in agreement that that's much too long. We don't know how it could be done quicker. We don't know what the impact on the budget was going to be, but that was something that we were going to have to revisit and discuss further, as opposed to having it stated this way, sort of as a certainty, because there was discussion at that meeting about looking into this further. So I'm just suggesting that maybe another line we put in here, that there was board discussion about whether this could be achieved in a shorter time frame.
A general discussion without
Right.
without being
Right.
specific.
There was no conclusion. We had no facts and figures. We had no money.
And that's fair, because at least we recognize the problem.
Right, but we were all sitting here 50 years. It's going to take 50 years to address the 130 miles of pipe that we know need work now. And what happens if next year we discover another 10 miles? It's going to take even longer.
To that point, more importantly, I think, is the fact that we recognize that we do have this problem, and we're trying to address it in one way or the other. But
Right.
it seems like, unless you've got an unlimited, unless from every contract that comes in now is 600,000 less than what we did, we might be able to do something, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But
Right.
no, and I agree with you, just the fact that we recognize it, and yeah, it's recorded someplace.
Right, I'm not looking for the board to say
Yeah.
we're going to do it
You can't,
fast.
I mean-
We need to, I want it to be left that we're going to reevaluate the schedule or something like that.
Yeah, I recall the sense of the board was that that is too prolonged a period,
Right.
particularly given the breaks and problems that we experienced. And so the gist of it was, what do we need to do to speed that up? We recognize there's a cost in terms of people and a cost in terms of expense.
Essentially, it's what we did in Pawtucket, because they renovated the entire system, but in order to do that, we definitely had to add resources.
I think that's where the discussion, from my point of view, that's where the discussion went. We recognize the fact that it's going to take a very long time, but we also recognize the fact that if the Pawtucket pipeline goes in, trying to attain maybe more than the 28 miles that need to be done is going to be a very financially challenged and difficult task, but we should recognize that if we can do more, we should. But I kind of thought that we left it at, well, 28 miles needs to be done for sure, but we don't know if we can financially afford to do any more. So, I don't know, that was my viewpoint of it. But I don't disagree with you. I think there should have been something in there that we discussed that, at least, that there was a good discussion on it.
Well, it says only 28 miles of water main of the 130 miles needed are planned to be replaced in the next 10 years. The board recognizes the cost implications of accelerating the schedule and is going to continually evaluate the situation, something like that.
You just wrote it.
Because if the pipes in my neighborhood, and I don't know this at all, you know, is the 29th mile, I'm going to be annoyed that it's going to take 11 years to get that one.
So who made the motion to accept that? Will that person amend it with the change they want?
I'll make a motion that we amend the minutes to this meeting to reflect the fact that there was a discussion on the 28 miles, and it should be looked at to see if we can do more.
Any other comment? All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Maybe that's something we can just put on the agenda, not every month, every other month, sort of an update as weather permits, resources permits.
I think a 6-month thing or something like that.
Okay.
Every time, number 5 budget.
Yeah, as we get towards budget season.
Executive Director's Report? Yeah?
Okay, revenue-wise, and we're about where we expected to be, as we are with the amount of water we purchased from Providence Water, which was, we were expecting about 3% less for this year. We're actually right on target. We allowed for that in the budget, so just continuing with our typical usage patterns, and provided some charts over the last few years just to see that we are still averaging lower than over the last 5 years in general. And it's still seeing slight decreases in water consumption.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask, what kind of, I don't know if I asked you this before, what kind of a increase are we expecting with the completion of the American Tourister project?
It's about 300 there, but they're small places, so they're more like a 1 and 2 bedroom establishments, 1 bath. So I don't really anticipate much of an upswing.
That's like the equivalent of a home, though, isn't it?
No, it's about half. Yeah.
Okay.
So every little bit helps.
And next item is a customer letter. That's this, right here?
Yes, the one in the packet unfortunately didn't get the it was a back page, so it didn't get copied. Just to,
That's not the customer letter, though.
This isn't the customer?
this
Oh,
is the
yeah,
customer
that's
letter.
Yeah.
It's a two-page.
It's a 2-page.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is going out with bills, just to give, it's essentially a rundown of my presentation for the public hearing, and just to give our customers an update as to where we're spending our money. I'll tell you, the last year, we did an awful lot of work. People were extremely busy, to the point where we had shorted us some of our maintenance work. So this year, we're doing smaller projects, hopefully get back on track on the maintenance. But in order to do more than what we've been doing, it's pretty obvious we're going to need more personnel as well. Just to keep that in mind. We have excellent staff. They do a great job, but they were running in a lot of different directions this last year. We had a lot of projects going at the same time. This year we'll have some smaller main projects. We've got the pump station project. And we're going to be doing a directional drill project here on Child Street to bring a pipe underneath this bridge. We have a very old pipe and we don't know what kind of conditions in, and that's the only source for the whole eastern side of Warren. So we just want to make sure we replace that with something reliable. We still have a lot going on. Which brings me to bonding. We actually had a conference call today again with Sandy Mack and Maureen Rahesian on obtaining bond probably around May for our next couple of years of projects. We are considering clean water finance, which is now the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. There may be some technicalities and paperwork in that we might not be able to use them this year, but we're going to see what accommodations can be made. Possibly thinking of doing a bank bond for 1 year and then doing clean water finance for the following 2 years, as we also get into construction of the Pawtucket pipeline. We definitely would like to use the infrastructure bank for that. The fact it might take a little bit longer time. They don't charge interest up front, so they charge interest only when you draw down the money. So it could be less expensive in the long run. So we're working on that, moving forward. The customer portal, everyone's been very much interested in being able to make ACH payments. Randy's been working on it. There seems to be a glitch with our customer service program. He said they're very close, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks, actually.
When I looked at his report, it indicated by the end of the month, which would be February 28th. So is that a realistic date?
Randy tends to be conservative, so it should
Couple of
be.
weeks. It could be a week, it could be.
Because this is dragged on for
We'll
months
go back and
longer.
forth with, to make sure things are working properly and it's being tested and I think Randy's being a little conservative by the end of the month, but you know,
But
the
he
other
knows
day he was
something
talking
can
a
come
week.
up, yeah.
But sometimes, you know, depends how fast they get back with certain updates, but we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah, I know, it's very close. The Upper Kickamuit Dam. Actually, we're meeting with the committee next week. We do have the interest of Mr. O'Rourke with the Infrastructure Bank, who actually is the Director of Stormwater Resiliency for the state. So he's got some input in where the state's going to go on some of these projects. So that will help us out quite a bit. The main issue with removing the dam is the fact that there may be less flooding by removing the dam on the upper side and less flooding to Schoolhouse Road than it presently exists. And that's been borne out in model analysis that was performed by PAR. We met with the DEM and they seem to be very positive about it. So we'll meet with the dam committee, then we'll submit the final report. The major issue though is Schoolhouse Road Bridge. That bridge needs to be raised. The state TIF program right now has it for resurfacing, but we're trying to emphasize the fact that the culverts under the bridge are need maintenance. They are blocked, and they need to be replaced along with the bridge, and that's to free up the flow of water between the upper and lower Kickamuit River areas. So we're trying to get the state interested in that. Hopefully having Mr. O'Rourke involved will move that up on their list of priorities. The main issue, Warren, has been, the town has been submitting on this as well to the state DOT as an emergency project because Schoolhouse Road floods, as does Child Street area. It's the exit in an emergency for the residents on the east side of Warren. So it's something that the state is looking at for priorities right now to maintain emergency exit. So hopefully we'll get it moved up on the list.
Is this meeting open to stand?
Yes, sure.
Where and when is it?
It's here, the 14th at 11 a.m.
Pam, what would come first, removal of the dam or repair of the bridge?
It would be better if the bridge was, but we could do the dam as well, because as long as it's showing that the hydraulics are right for removing it, it looks like we will get approval.
It's encouraging to know that the state, all the local authorities, including the state, is involved in recognizing the problem, recognizing something has to be done.
The reason I asked if it's open is
Yep.
there's been some letters to the local paper that are very confusing to people, I think. And I'd like to get firsthand information if I can as to just what's going on. I agree with taking the dam out completely, and I understand the whole situation with the street and all that. But there are people making statements in the paper that make it sound like it's very simple. That
Yes, and they have put out some misinformation.
yes, that's what I mean.
Same
It seems
thing.
misinformation.
Had an article in the paper that corrected one of those, and then someone came out and essentially stated
Yeah.
something the opposite.
I
Do
think
we
you've got
monitor that and correct those misstated pieces of information?
We don't. We try and have somebody of authority do it, and Save the Bay did in that case.
Some of those letters might be from years going by, people, and misperception. I think there's been a woman that's been on the council for many years. So they kicked me out. The fact that I think she was here, and she's in a wheelchair, and I think she's also appeared before the town council.
And I
That's
believe
great.
she will be attending the meeting as
Yeah.
well.
So,
So like I
Not
said,
that
the more
she's wrong.
information we can get out of
not that she's
her.
wrong, she's just going by what she knows or knew at that time. Regarding the silt was collecting at one time and someone died. It stuck.
That had nothing to do with
No, that was fair enough.
No,
Yeah, but
she
I
keeps
think
sending
John's
letters to
talking
the
about-
editor saying that.
Correct.
Talking
And
about a
and
letter
from my
that some
standpoint,
guy
we
wrote,
should
right?
have a letter to the
Yeah.
editor correcting.
Lyle.
The letter in there by Gary something or other.
I think we should,
Lyle, he actually called me and I gave him the information, and then he printed something,
Yeah.
something entirely different.
He's really pointing the finger directly at the BCWA.
I think it'd be nice if, from this meeting, we get together some clear minutes between yourself, Pam, and Save the Bay, and Mr. O'Rourke, anything that we can send out in the papers, where people can read it, based on this meeting, what's been discussed, what they're looking at, what the pros and cons, what we need from at state level, and just put it out there. If someone, sends in a reply that's totally different, that's their right, that's their opinion. It's like anything, you're not gonna, please everybody and convince everybody.
No, I think
So-
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So after the meeting,
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
write up a summary of what was
Just to
discussed.
clear the air,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Well, if somebody comes to the board, I'm assuming that somebody's gonna come to the directors, right? Summary of this meeting.
Oh, yes,
Or parts of
yes.
correspondence
Mhm.
that will already be generated, we can just simply turn it around and make it as a public announcement, put something in the papers.
Even if, and if we got, the woman from Save the Bay, or anyone who wants to write something independently,
Encourage them to do that.
based on how they viewed the meeting, and you gotta believe somebody along the way that's writing the stories are similar as to what's going on and what we're looking to accomplish.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have conflicting opinions no matter what.
Oh,
because
true.
there's a certain group
True.
that just is set on this idea that we should remove all this silt.
Right.
It's our responsibility.
Maybe something should be copied of that, be sent to the town council, warrant town council, because I think Joe's gonna be here Wednesday. Joe DePasquale. I think he's coming Wednesday, correct? Or he was.
He didn't reply, but he may.
Okay, so, just anything we do, we have to
Yeah,
make
to
them
all
aware
accounts,
of it.
if something goes out to all
Sure.
accounts.
Clear.
Anything else, Pam, that,
I had a question. You say you've still not been able to schedule a meeting with East Providence. Who are you trying to meet with?
Well, since that time, we're back to trying to find a date and trying to meet with the mayor of the town council, the town manager, the DPW director, and the superintendent of water. And they did call last week looking for dates again.
Do you need
they
all?
called us?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to meet with all of them at one time?
Pretty much to move the project forward. We've met without the mayor previously, but he needs to know what we're doing and what's involved.
I would get
what
as
the
many of them as you
decisions are.
can, and at the same time, because one's gonna say, oh, we didn't know
yeah.
anything about it, and the next one's gonna say, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah,
It's been very difficult to get any information to the town council, and he's willing to meet with us, so definitely.
But if you could meet incrementally, if you could meet with the water manager and find out what his perception is of what's wrong, and then if you can meet with the water manager and someone else, and
Because we've been hearing.
But that's what's happened in the past.
We've met with them,
That's what's
yes.
happened in the past.
Yeah,
We've met with them in the past, we've met with everyone except the mayor.
I know
We need
East
to
Providence
include the
historically
mayor this
has
time.
always had some problem with the East Bay of Bristol County.
Definitely.
Not necessarily the water authority, but Bristol County.
Alan's not here, that's their fault. I don't
Right, I would, yeah, you're right. Yes.
So instead of saying a meeting with East Providence, I think you want to say with officials including, so
Yeah.
we have some frame of reference.
Okay.
Good point.
They just added the mayor, right, this past election?
No, they are going to go to, well, the mayor is now the president of the town council. And they have
A manager, town
a
manager.
town manager. What they're going to do is they're eliminating the town manager and they're going to a mayoral form of government. And that's gonna happen this fall. There's an election coming up, and
Right.
that's part of the reason there's a lot of
Okay.
issues going on in East Providence, because there's a
So
number
is-
of people that are interested in the position.
Is it going to be an elected position or an
It's
appointed?
elected.
Elected, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have a meeting with the current town manager and the current mayor, they may not be around come November.
They may not be.
But they can't say
But
that
the
they
main
don't
thing is
know
we're
about it.
trying
True.
right now is, right.
They can't say they don't know.
True,
about it.
true.
And we want them to provide the information, as we have a couple of different pathways for the pipeline. We need their input
Sure.
to determine
Yeah.
where the best option is to run this
Are you ready?
pipeline.
Well, let me pose a question. Let's just say that you can't get unanimity from them on Plan A versus Plan B. It implies that we're at a standstill until they can agree on that. Is that right?
I would think they would defer to their DPW department. The main issue is knowing that we're doing it and we want to move ahead with it. And that they need to, work with us and what is the best way to get there.
Well, you say we now need East
If we-
Providence's input to determine a final route. If they can't agree on a final route, either because they have diverging opinions or they don't have the ability to come together and say, we think we should do this, I can't believe we're at a standstill.
The only other thing we can do is use the state routes. But you have to realize we're installing a pipeline through their city.
I got that.
And the politics can get very dicey.
This is not North
We
Korea.
want their, well,
Pam,
we need their help to get
Pam,
this
here's my
done.
problem. I said a year ago, I thought we needed public relations help on this. I think we need public relations help on this.
But who, Gina? Who do you go to for public relations?
We need to make our own strong statements about the need for this and the citizens who are, suffering without an alternative supply because East Providence is not moving ahead. I think we need to prepare to go that direction. Hopefully, we won't have to do that, but I'm not content to suck our thumbs while they dither around about a meeting. We've been waiting a year to meet with people in a position of authority, and it hasn't happened.
And the bottom line on any kind of project like this, and this may sound a little crass, but is, from East Providence viewpoint, they're gonna say, well, what's in it for us? And I don't know what's in it for them. If it upgrades some of their facilities, or if it provides them some new roads that are gonna be repaved or something like that, I think that's something you have to be prepared to say, that we're gonna be coming down these roads and we're gonna repave them from curb to curb, and this is what you're gonna get out of it.
They know that already.
Right. No,
Well, I think
And
that's
they
a lot.
That's part of what would be in a PR
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
They may know that, Pam. We don't know that.
no.
Part of what happens in a PR plan is not just pink smoke blown to the public, but sitting down and understanding as a group what we're proposing, what's in it for us, what's in it for them, and where we're prepared to compromise. I don't think we've done that.
Right, that's what the meeting, you have to go to the meeting with all of that outlined and say, this is where we're coming from, and this is where we think we can help out the city.
We've discussed this with them before. This is not the first meeting we've had with them. We have had several meetings with East Providence. We just haven't had any
With whom?
recently.
With whom?
With the general manager, the DPW director, and
Hired
the water
employees.
superintendent.
But
We
not,
could not get the council to meet with us. As much as we tried, Alan called the council, he's called the president, the mayor.
unless their city council functions differently than every other, you can petition to get on their agenda.
You can't.
Well, Pam,
We
just-
we tried that several years ago, we were on the agenda and they took it off.
And along with what Juan said, very true, and we experienced that with Rehoboth, when we were talking about the pipeline from there.
Exactly.
And we sat down with the selectmen, we told them, the offered, you're gonna get this road paved, you're gonna get that road paved, we were gonna do drainage for them, we were gonna put hydrants on our line. where they don't even have hydrants in Rehoboth. We're gonna put them in certain areas where they can at least go fill their tank trucks and stuff. It's just like talking to a stone wall. One new selectman to come in the next year, he didn't wanna hear it. And
See,
so it's not that easy to deal with another community, it just isn't.
I think it's harder when it's Rehoboth in Massachusetts. To my mind, we should escalate this to the state because they might need to step in and provide eminent domain. God knows they're willing to do it for the baseball stadium.
The state will not.
But
do
we've
that.
we've gone through all that too.
We've
Gee,
talked
we've
with
gone
the
through all that
representatives,
stuff.
and
The
actually,
state's the one that said to us, this is what you should do, this is your good idea, we're all for it. When push comes to shove,
the state provided the money and East Providence wouldn't support it. So now we're back to step one again. But I did ask Cindy Coyne to talk to the state reps there in East Providence and to the mayor, which she did. And this is how we've gotten to the point where we're actually trying to get a meeting. But the other state reps are not interested.
When you say the other state reps,
From East Providence. And as far as financing anything more, the state's pretty much said, forget it. There's no more money. And they're not willing to step out on a limb. They weren't willing to step into Pasco. They had no water for 3 months. So Pasco took it to court. Well, I remember that one.
how can we, with that one, a few years ago, our own council, Ray and Bill can tell you, kind of submarined our plans.
If I may,
In this project.
Put stipulations on it.
Yeah.
Joe, you've been part of this for the last couple of years. Can you just, I know you've been working with Pam and our people and trying to make this happen. Can you just enlighten us into,
So Pat's talked with their public works director, their water superintendent.
Yeah.
If they were the decision makers, they would say yes, I think.
okay,
So then the idea was to talk to the city council about, joining us in doing that. That didn't work. So now the idea is, well, we're gonna put a pipe through East Providence and they're not gonna pay for it. So we're gonna go ahead and do it. We could go down the state roads, I assume. But there might be a better alternative and a cheaper alternative to go through.
Very expensive.
To go through non-state roads. So I've been back and forth with the town manager. He indicated they were willing to sit down and talk. Before Christmas, we gave him a string of dates. He actually gave me some dates. He asked me to provide him dates. I provided him dates. We didn't get together. He said, the holidays were crazy. Can you get back to me and give me some more dates? So I think on Monday or Tuesday of this week.
Oh, that's right after Christmas we did again, but.
Then we did it again, and that didn't happen. And then this past week, I've given him some more dates to do it. I mean, it's hard to make a city meet with you. I suppose the alternative is to just say, let's go down the state road, but then if that's gonna be more expensive, we wanna try and meet with their folks and say, this is what we plan on doing. And hopefully by doing that, they then at some point join in. But if not, then I guess the alternative at some point is just gonna be to try and go down the state roads.
How far are we away from the starting point where there's going to be money available and the shovels in the ground, so to speak, so East Providence can have a visual, here they come, here's what they want to do?
Well, we're talking at least a year.
Are we willing to do that phase one, so to speak, part of this?
But I think that's correct. We're at the design phase and we have
We're doing,
options.
right, we're designing the phase one right
Okay.
now, and we have a couple of options. Going down the state roads is one, it's the more expensive option. There's another option we'd like to take a look at that would be cheaper, involve much less delay, much more less road work, but that's something that East Providence would have to be involved in.
I'm trying to address Gina's concerns, which are legitimate, and very to the point. We don't know, unless someone from administration tells us, this is where we're at, we're trying to, what do we have to do to make it happen? And
Basically, yes.
so, basically, from the last couple of minutes, we're ready to go, but to get them to sit down and to agree to say, yes, you can do this, and you can do it, but we don't want to pay any money, that's fine, we'll do it on our own. We can't even get to that point, and then we're facing a change in administration from the mayor to the council and this and that, so you're looking at, so it's reached a point, it's like critical mass point. We've got to do something to tell, to bring to the board so that we know where the heck this stands. All of us that have been here for a while realize that, we try to meet with them and this and that. If someone can just tell us what you want or don't want, and if you don't want to contribute, and after we hook up, you want this done, then let's move on.
Do we know what the state route would cost?
Yes, we've got an estimate for that.
Okay, so my feeling is that we tell East Providence, we have a go decision to make in 90 days. So either you're on board or we're gonna go the state route, period.
And
But
regardless,
that's the
regardless,
gonna cost us more money.
Right.
So they're the ones that
But
are
we
gonna-
could be sitting here sucking our thumbs, having the same conversation 3 years from now,
and costing a lot more
with
than that.
nothing.
Right, but it would seem like the first thing you need to know is, what do you need to know? What approvals do we need if we go one way or the other? From a legal viewpoint, from an engineering viewpoint, and so forth. Like, do we need the city of East Providence's approval if we put a pipe down,
State.
Newport Avenue, which is a state road or something, some road that's a state road? What approvals do we need from them?
I think we need a decision tree analysis
Right.
from you, evaluating
Well,
A versus B.
We had talked about putting together a letter to East Providence saying, here's what we want to meet with you, here's what we need to do. And then Pam and I were actually on the phone talking about that. I think,
Yeah.
then I think when we hung up, I got the email from East Providence saying,
Let's meet.
hey, I know we didn't meet, let's get this back
But
on
I still
track.
think you need what you're describing as an agenda for the meeting.
Yeah, we would. And so, if, I would agree, if we're coming back and it's next month and we haven't met, then I think that we just have to put
And I
together.
always like to look at the worst case analysis, and the worst case analysis here is like, you're not gonna gain cooperation from the city of East Providence. So then what do you have to do to get
Yeah.
from point A to point B
That's-
from an approval
Exactly.
viewpoint? Does it mean a lawsuit on our part against the city of East
A
Providence?
decision tree.
Right.
Because I'm sure that they don't have the money to do anything. That's what the problem is with
Yeah.
the Providence.
Yeah,
They've
well, we
got
told
other big
them-
problems, and it's not the, right now, they don't think the water situation. is
Right, but if it can be shown that by them spending money, and I don't know all the details of this, I'm the new guy, I can use that excuse, If it can be shown to East Providence that if you spend X amount of money, you're gonna get these things, and it's gonna be a big benefit to your community. And by the way, because we're gonna be spending this amount of money, we're gonna also sweeten the pot because we're fixing up things along the route that you normally wouldn't do.
Well, I don't think they think that's a big concern to them, because they're thinking, if they really need the water, they're gonna get it from our pipeline.
Right, no, right.
That's what they're thinking.
Oh, yeah,
Which is
sure.
what
So
we've
regardless of
already,
whether we put
No,
a
but
road in or
I'm
not.
thinking of the other details when you're building a pipeline and the things that you affect. Because I know in the city of Warwick, the water department and the sewer authority, where I was the director, we rebuilt the entire water system for them. Because the only way we're gonna get things done is if we did it ourselves and we paid for it ourselves. So to get our sewers in, we had to go and redo all the
And that's in the
city
same
roads.
city.
Yeah, that was in the same city.
Yeah, and when we did the Cross Bay Pipeline,
Yeah.
on Providence side, we did parks over, remember, I don't know if you remember, we would, Cianci would say, yeah, well, you can do this over here, but that park is gonna be rebuilt, we rebuilt the park and all of that stuff.
And I can think
But
about.
I agree, if they can't, this can't go on like this. Then the option is put in the state road and cut them out of there altogether. If they want to tie in later on, you come up with
We have a great permit fee that yet we're
Yeah.
going to assess.
Pam, when would you be able to have something where you can show the representatives from East Providence?
We have,
Yeah, maps.
We're ready.
We don't know all that
You
stuff.
can't get them to look.
No, okay.
as soon as we can get a meeting together.
That I wasn't
we're-
sure. I mean, I didn't sure
we're all
exactly
set.
what you had, you know,
We're-
because I
Yeah,
thought it was still, it's a design phase.
Phase
We
one is
are, but we
design.
can't go further until we resolve this issue of which route is gonna work best.
We could be here until, council.
And obviously, we wanna go the cheaper route, and we're talking like $1 million difference. It's a lot of money.
Also, the road that's beneficial to them as well.
But they don't think so. Well, that's the whole problem.
There'll be some.
They don't think they're gonna
Plus,
get it.
we have to hook up into their water main too, so they are definitely involved in this.
Can I ask-
They have to give us a spot where we can hook in.
Can I ask you a question? If we went through the route that is less expensive through East Providence, what's the cost factor to them? What is the cost to East Providence for us to do that? Or is it just getting their permission? Is there gonna be a cost factor for them,
No.
for that phase? No.
No.
So it's not a money issue for them?
No, it's not a money issue. Because we're paying for everything on this.
We're
phase.
paying for everything.
Yeah.
We're gonna be improving their roads if we use that.
We're gonna improve the roads, plus we're gonna provide them an emergency supply line, because they would be able to use that pipeline in reverse.
Right.
And that was originally, they were going to share the cost of the pipeline. And then,
It sounds like they
considering we
don't
couldn't even
see,
get them to discuss it.
you know, it
See,
sounds like they don't see the benefit side of this.
They do. It's
Or aren't interested.
the administration's very interested. It's the town council's got some political issues going on right now where the water ratepayers and sewer ratepayers get a revolt.
Oh, yeah.
And they definitely don't want to talk about water, and they don't want to talk about sewer fees.
No.
No, they don't.
Did you see the picture? on
I heard they
TV?
talking about a new high school.
There was a,
that gonna do?
$10 million.
there was a picture, I think, on last night's news or the other night, just in passing, big water tank with EP in big red letters and EP in big red letters on it.
You know, they just finished painting it.
They just had to paint that
Yeah.
tank, but if they hadn't painted it, it would have cost them a lot more money. It was deteriorating.
Yeah.
If you remember, it was getting very rusty. But that was a big controversy, just to spend the money on
I'm
painting
sure.
that tank.
Do you have a feeling of what the board wants, so that at the next meeting we can, would it be safe to say by next board meeting, you can tell us, Joe or someone tell us what we're gonna do, what's the next best step?
Okay.
Because I'm not, can't go on forever, this is crazy.
Frankly, we've been having this discussion for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that that can continue. So
No, but we're at a point where we have made progress in that the design is going on, and what is happening is the design can go one of two ways. And so I'd say in the last 45 days, we've had sort of the promise of a meeting taken away, and I agree. I mean, I gave you some dates that I think go no further than the first week of March, so.
And Joe, are we being unreasonable to say, you know?
No, again, I think
Yeah.
that if we can't get the meeting, or even if we can't get the meeting, you know, we could probably come back to you at the next meeting with sort of a, here's what this would cost, here's what, you know, here are our two options. You may just say, you know, forget it. We can't.
Well, we need to have something to make that decision.
Yeah,
Put
I
something
mean,
on the
when you
table.
figure that when this first started,
but there has been progress. I mean,
when this first started, the agreement was supposed to
There's been
be,
progress in terms of what we control. We
Yes,
can't
it's
control
very
East Providence.
frustrating.
And frankly, my recollection is this particular conversation about getting East Providence's city council to go along with this has been going on for more than a year.
well, the first part of it, the first thing that we were trying to do was get the city of East Providence to
Go in with
join
us
on
for
the
the
project.
design.
We finally said, enough of that, they won't do it.
Right,
So then the board said, you know what, we're gonna do it without them.
right.
So let's start the design. So they did start the design, and now they're at sort of a forking, you know, no pun
because this has been going on, this has been going on a lot longer than 8 years.
No, but what I'm saying is that.
The very first proposal was, it was gonna be, the state was gonna pay 2/3.
Right, but the
We were
first,
gonna pay a third, and East Providence was gonna pay a third. It was a deal for everybody.
the first set of, we're trying to get a meeting with them was to get them to join. That's gone.
That's
And now the board said, let's go ahead. The design has progressed. Now, we would like to sit with them and just say, listen, we know you don't want to join in with us. Here are our options right now. We need to have a practical conversation with you about how we're gonna do this coming through your city. Now, again, within the last 45 days, we've thrown around dates. I would say if the dates I've thrown out, which extend no further than I think the first week of March, don't happen, then we come back to the next meeting with
I
a
think
new
we need a
plan.
go, no-go decision at
Yeah.
the next board meeting. If you have not been able to sit down and get measurable,
Well,
real
I
progress.
mean, if it's close, it's close, you know, push it off a little bit. If Joe comes back next month and says,
Yeah, I mean,
I need a couple of 3 weeks.
But I agree, we can't do what we did last time, trying to get a meeting
Right.
to have them
Yeah.
join. We can't now do another year, trying to get a meeting to have them at least talk to us about how we're gonna do it on our own time. I mean, that's ludicrous.
It just boggles my mind that it isn't gonna cost them anything, but they
It's-
don't want,
It's,
my God,
It's idiocy.
well,
it's all, it's politics.
I'm not sure if the ratepayers feel that way.
Yeah, we love
East Providence.
I get back to my PR
They could be
point.
misinformed
We are
or
trying
just have a
to do
feeling.
this through employees. We are not trying to independently make this the case before the people of East Providence. And frankly, we can't do that without professional help. So I made my statement. I just want to move forward with this.
well, let's see, would you be in agreement, Gina, to let Joe get back to us in next month?
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
fine.
Well, I think by doing that, we're moving in the right
Right,
direction.
no, I agree. The only other comment I had on your report was the website and the sewer break. The last time I looked at our website, it had something dated January 31st that had a copy of the sewer break on Hopeworth Avenue information. That article was January 5th, I believe. So I have a couple of comments. I think if we put something on the website, it ought to have the date that we put on it that's the same as when it was in the newspaper, number one. But number two, that whole episode of breaks pointed out to me that we don't really have a good procedure for alerting the public. We talked a little bit about reverse 911 calls, but at the very least, it's easy enough to have somebody tweet, that we have a break, we're dealing with it. So we've had a lot of talk in our strategic plan about better customer relations. That to me is the essence of customer relations.
Well, the problem is you have to have people provide you with their addresses, and we're finding people very reluctant to do that. But we're
Wait a
trying.
minute. If you tweet, break on Hopeworth, BCWA working on it, you don't need anybody's address.
Sounds like more of a social media issue.
The reverse
Problem
911, yes, but
Yeah, but you still have to.
60 people on our tweet thing.
yeah, we don't have very many people. Well, it's because there's nothing on there. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not saying you're going to get an immediate reaction, but at least you have to make the effort.
But the way social media works, it's a pyramid scheme, and that you send it out to 2 people, they send it out to 2
Exactly.
other people, and it keeps on going.
Right.
So,
Well, one thing we're looking at is the state was supposed to be developing a program for cell phones, so they could hit an area, both cell phones and landlines. And they've been extremely busy lately, and we haven't been able to get much information from them. But a year ago, they were developing
I'm
this
asking
program.
you to look at what we at BCWA can do to better inform our customers. Not what the state can do, but what we can do. Because I don't think we're doing a very good job.
Well, we've been taking a look at it, but again, you've got to get people to respond to us to begin with in order to be able
I don't
to
think
send
we're doing
anything
a good
out.
job just telling our own facts. I'm talking to you about what is in the control of the people in this room.
we want to have, what you say, and I don't think it needs to be paraphrased, but you want to be out ahead of the story. You want to be telling your story before anybody interprets it for you.
Instead of reacting to it.
Right.
You have a good story to tell. It was
Right.
severe weather and
Right.
people were out in horrible conditions.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it kind of goes along with a comment I wanted to make about the customer letter that's going out. I think this information from Sue's engineering report on specific items that have occurred in people's neighborhoods, like North Main Street, Water Street, Connect, Cutler Street. I think that's good information that the ratepayers should know that these kinds of things have gone on or are going on, have been repaired in their neighborhoods. I think that's important information that would be nice to get out to the ratepayers in a customer letter. Say, these are the things that we've been working on, near the end of 2017. That's good information, and it's in their neighborhoods, so.
I would do two things. I think it's great for the customer letter, but I also think you need to snip it up by town and get the Bristol stuff in the Bristol Phoenix, the Warren stuff in the Warren paper, the Barrington stuff in the Barrington paper.
I've tried, they won't print it.
I don't agree with you.
Believe me, I tried a number of times. I've sent them all kinds of information. I've never seen it in their paper once. And I've sent it to all 3 town papers. What we have to do is
I can
purchase
assure
an
you,
ad.
if you had a couple of cute little kids and you took a picture of them looking at the 12-inch water line that's being installed, you would get it in the paper.
Gina, we had a public hearing for a rate increase. It was advertised in the local papers. They wrote an editorial about concerning it. There go the rates again. They didn't even come to the hearing. The paper did.
So the point I'd like to make is that this is good information because it specifically informs customers the things that are going on in their neighborhood, on their streets. I really, if you're gonna send out a letter, I really think that's the kind of information that could go in there.
Pam, there are different ways to get information in the newspaper. For example, if you provided this in snippets by the town, each of us, one of the Warren people can write a letter to the editor to go into the Warren paper saying, as a member of the board of the BCWA, I want Warren people to be aware of the following improvements that have been made. They will publish that.
That would probably have more luck.
We could be the messenger. Get us the information.
Well, if I write it, they won't print it. So it's up to you, Ray.
We'll give you a pseudonym.
But there are, just think about it, like in Warren there's like, there's 3 areas right here.
Well, they were in the letter. So you may not have seen the second. But when we do a project, we also obviously notify everyone in the neighborhood of what we're doing.
You notify what you're doing. Do you follow up and notify that if that's been accomplished? How much of that has been accomplished? I don't know, maybe I'm looking at it, we just need more personal communication to the ratepayers, especially when it touches upon certain areas in their neighborhood. Because all we ever get is negative stuff, it seems like more negative stuff coming from ratepayers, but if they knew what was being done to help improve the water in their neighborhood and on their street, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think we really difficult to rely on the newspapers. We would have to send it out.
This has gone out to customers?
Yes.
Okay, because if you did it again, maybe next year, what I would do is have the front page peculiar to the town. So I would have the front page talk about what happened in Warren that goes to our Warren ratepayers. And ditto Barrington, ditto Bristol, and have page 2 be the other stuff. Because people don't wade through things that don't affect them.
We'd have to see, because we put it in with the bills, whether, because we bill all 3 towns together.
Yeah, but you sort them by zip code.
No, we don't.
You don't?
We have an outside company who does all our, we send them the file and they create the bills, and the attachments, that they're automatically added in. I'm not sure that we could say.
They have to
We
zip
could
code
do it if
them
it
to
was-
get
No, it
bulk
would be-
mailing.
We'd have to
We'd
look
have to
into
mail
whether we could
directly.
have a different one depending on zip code.
I can assure you, they have to deliver them zip code sorted to the post office.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
When they process.
Yeah, I mean, our bills are shipped out of Chicago, and ours are mixed in with thousands of other,
Well, we'd have
in the
to
sorting
do a
process.
direct mail.
So, well, I'm
We
not
can look
suggesting,
into that if that
I'm
can
not
be sorted.
suggesting spending money. I thought I was told that this went with the bill.
Yes.
It's
As a
it's gonna be
separate-
definite, but it'll take 3 months for everybody to get it.
So you just don't put the date at the top of
I
it.
know, I'm just saying it'll take 3 cycles to get to everybody.
On our website, do we have, say, a link or a question, see what's happening in your town, where they can drop down and say Bristol, Warren,
Yeah.
Barrington, select it,
The projects.
and
are
have
there.
something like this information in it?
I
Could
mean,
that be done?
is this on the website?
I don't know about that document, but yeah, we have all our projects.
Yeah,
You
so
can
what-
click on the project.
Okay.
Click on the,
So anything that we're talking about, breaks, we fixed this, we did this, click on your town, you'll see what's happening or what has happened. It's an idea. It's gonna be free and it's something that can be done once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever, as it becomes necessary. I don't know, but, you know.
I would just caution that don't overburden the reader with a lot of unnecessary detail. I'm afraid that some people will look at this and just brush it aside. So much technical data in here.
How much do I owe?
Yeah, well, that's it, yeah.
You know, that's why I say, like, to me, the main thing in this letter is like the major projects that were completed in 2018.
Yeah,
You know, those are things that personally affect people.
yeah,
What we're gonna do in the future, well, you might touch upon some of it.
yeah.
I'm afraid people are just gonna brush a lot of it aside,
Well,
like
I'm
propaganda.
saying is if there's something that we can do on the website, that we can update on a monthly basis or as needed basis, you know, Barrington, Bristol, Warren, click on it, see what's happening. See what's
Yeah.
happening in your neighborhood.
Do we keep track of how many people, how many hits do we actually get on our BCWA website? I'm sure there's not many, there are really not many people that go.
The sad fact, people don't care that much about it.
Right.
Only if the water shuts off do they care.
Exactly.
That's
It's what
it's a
affects
fact of
me.
life everywhere, in my town, everywhere. It's the same.
Exactly right.
It's
It's what affects the individual,
it's
and I think that's why the focal point to me is this summary of new water mains installed in 2017. These are people's neighborhoods, and I think it would affect them more, and it would draw to their attention more, the fact that, oh, Water Street, oh, Cutler Street, you know, Mulberry Street, those are important things to the people.
People go over the same road 100 times a month and more concerned with a pothole on the top than they are with the water, gas, and sewer underneath.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it.
Because they're still getting the water and the
That's
gas. No interruption.
I think both of these things should be formatted and put on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Who started this? Me. I called it to order.
Anything else? The DEM, I have a question on the DEM letter. There was something in their letter about PCW was also encouraged to submit any standard work policies and procedures related to coordination with the town sewer department and internal training and BCWA staff and practice. They kind of set a whole set of circumstances that they would like you to look into. Is there anything there that?
No, we pretty much addressed it. It's still in draft form, it's not finalized yet. But
So is there anything that you think you need to address based on what they request?
anything we would change, not specifically. We pretty much do the best we can to try and see if there's any sewer in the area. We look for manholes, we look for, where there might possibly be a sewer line, and see if the sewer line's on one side of the street or the other.
They're asking you to submit something in 30 business days.
Right, it'll be ready beginning next. We're meeting with the town of Bristol on Monday morning. We want to go over it with them.
Okay.
I'm going to just add to the board that Bristol County Water Authority participates in the state science fair every year. We judge drinking water projects. Science fair is on March 17th. If anyone on the board would like to join as the engineering department as judges, it's the 17th, it's a Saturday, it's St. Patrick's Day. The time commitment is about noon time to 3 p.m. It's at CCRI. Just let me know and you'll be a judge.
You provide the green beer, right?
Become the judge.
Maybe after, if you're a good judge.
Don't want to hear it
Okay.
during your judgment.
Are we moving on? Is anything else with Pam's report?
Yeah, one quick question. Pam, in this graph here, this upper right corner, that's supposed to be fiscal 2013, not 18?
Yeah, going backwards, you're correct. This one here, Pam.
This,
Oh,
Yes, 2018 here, and then at the top as well. The top one should be 2013, if we're going back.
Oh, yep,
Okay.
it's a typo.
and at the bottom of that same graph, where you show February, 2013 and 14 seem to be missing.
They're just low.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Never thought I'd say this. Can we get to the financial report?
We have time for Mark's
Do
report?
it for that.
We have time? You want to speak from there, sir?
Are we good to go?
Good to go.
Everybody's had the December report for a couple of weeks. I've answered several questions from the board directly. If there's any questions concerning that report, it's pretty static. We're basically on target where we thought we would be for the budget. No big surprises. Currently, we're 3 weeks away from the end of the fiscal year, which is a very busy time as we're preparing for the audit, which usually starts in mid-April. We're in very good shape with our records, and we've added a new fixed asset program, which will help immensely with our depreciation schedules, as well as additional new assets for the year. As Pam mentioned, we've started our discussions with the bonding attorney and our financial advisors. And Pam mentioned we had a meeting today, and one of the things we stressed today that we would like to keep as much flexibility in what we do spend the money on, as we is a very important thing for us because, like was mentioned, priorities change every year. The plan, Pam's plan for the next 10 years will be a little different next year, and there will be things that happen in the next 12 months that are going to change priorities. We kind of have it for the next 10 years to kind of at the level of financial bonding that we can handle. And I mentioned that last month, that being more aggressive in any process we want to do is going to put an added liability under the ratepayer. I mean, to increase the more money we borrow to do those roads further. But I think prioritizing every year, as we have been doing, helps us get through the next 40 years or 50 years as best we can. The year has gone by very fast. We're implementing our new budget that was approved. Busy time. I have a week off in early March. And then, so I get back, I'll get all my stuff in to finish the February statements. And then hopefully we should be right on track. I've already talked to the auditors, and no surprises from their end of any changes, and I'm ready to go. We're all caught up with just about all our financial projects. So, is there anything specific, anybody concerning the December statement, or overall questions, if anybody has any?
Of course, I have a question.
Ready, my buddy.
The downturn, the serious downturn in the stock market,
Right.
how is that going to affect the pension contributions? You think we're going to have to increase pension contributions? Or is that too early?
Let's just say, even with the downturn, we're way ahead of what we had projected on a discount rate of 6%, or I think we're already up 8 or 9% since July. And from everything I'm hearing, that no one is predicting Armageddon here. It's a correction.
Right.
The January numbers are amazing, how much we earned in January, and then the past week has been, I know it was down 1,000 points today, but most of the experts are saying this is a much needed correction that.
So you don't think it'll affect
Well, it's,
how we're going to
for
budget?
3 days of the market going down has no impact at all from, I mean, we don't like it, but I think it may have been going a little too fast and decided to catch itself up a little bit. But a lot of people anticipated it. I mean, there's a lot of ifs on what interest rates are doing and inflation, and so people start, and then a small percentage start to panic and they sell, and then there's always people, when it drops 1,000 points, people will buy again. So,
Okay, so you don't think it's going to affect what we contribute to the pension? That we have to
no,
correct?
we decided to contribute at a much higher rate again this year, and I think we were only using a 6% discount rate, which they had. So we're funding, and we do have, we're going to have 3 or 4 retirements in the next fiscal year. So the pension fund is going to be in a position of dropping in a high percentage on the 457. So that balance, as they take their pensions, the liability drops with it, and so it's not going to be a real attractive portfolio for people to bid on. That's going to be declining significantly to the. I think I had scheduled out in 5 or 6 years there'll only be a few people left on it, and $1.5 million. So we may look into other options of managing that fund. The fee goes up as the balance goes down,
Yeah.
so it might be a little more expensive. So we will look into options of either, if we can pay it out, there were reasons why it may be a little more difficult than we thought. There's never been one similar to ours that have paid it out early. And we're finding a way to just monitor till it does end. But
Well, it's been doing good, so.
no, I
I just
mean,
want to make sure we're going to have enough with what we've been contributing in the annual budget.
I would not react to a week's worth of downturn.
Okay.
Any other input? Thank you, sir. Number 6, the policy committee report. Frank, George, and I met on Tuesday. Ken was here, Pam, Joe. We went over the draft that everybody had received from December regarding not the changing of the policy, but the rewording of it for more simplified
It just went to the policy committee,
Correct.
the rules and regulations.
Yes, it did. Okay, so there's some work to be done in that. I think next month, we'll meet again. We haven't scheduled a date yet, I don't think, to meet again. The committee will get a look at comparing those documents, if you will, side by side, and see what our recommendation is. Hopefully, there'll be nothing needed to be changed, but you never know. Everybody had a good input. We agreed that there was additional work to be done, not to the fault of anybody, but just for more clarity, so that when we made a decision, we were looking at apples to apples, and before we present it to the board, right, Frank?
Right. I think one of the important things that came out of the policy subcommittee meetings, that any substantive change in policy would be going forward. By that I mean, it would impact the next, we're not going to change horses in midstream.
Correct.
So if there is a policy change, it would be, it wouldn't affect those people that are already in that
There'll be
process.
something going forward
Yeah.
as a specific date.
If that makes any sense. It's not, we're not going to penalize anyone
No.
that's currently enjoying any type of benefit.
Mhm.
It'll be something that will be enacted going forward.
Okay.
So, but like the chairman said, we'll have more data next month, hopefully.
Okay. I'm not sure, Pam, maybe you can let us know what your schedule is for March, or even the end of this month. Let's see if we can get into the same, when you will have the information available for us to
Probably
review.
early March would be better.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll have like a week off towards the end of the
Okay.
month.
Number 7, the meter installation bid, we've already taken care of that. Number 8, the Medicom pump station project.
Again, this is a task order for the engineering fees.
Excuse me. What about item number
Right, and you
8?
have the old agenda.
You skipped 6.
There's 2, there's engineering services report, correct?
We're 8 people signed.
I'm the only one that has revised agenda.
Oh, the revised one.
Oh, yeah.
I have number 8.
Signs on the,
I have number 8, Metacom pump
there
station.
we go.
No,
It's
no.
a new one that went out.
It was a new one, when did the new one go off?
You have that one?
The next day, yeah. It's just a discussion on signs on BCWA vehicles.
Yes, I asked for that. I asked that to be included, signs on BCWA vehicles. That was on that's the amended agenda. The reason I asked that is because I received a complaint from a ratepayer that she let me know that no employee that she knew was at Stop and Shop with a vehicle that didn't have any sign on it, okay? And another one that was observed down at the beach, parked at the beach, and that vehicle didn't have a sign on it. So her concern was, are these people taking the signs off the vehicles? Number one. The other thing, another issue I was concerned was that when we were in that cold snap and we had those line breaks, I was driving Medicom Avenue when I saw utilities, police car, utility truck, working in the street, and I looked to see who it was. Then there was the vehicle I could not identify as being whatever. It happened to be, it was a utility from the BCWA, and no sign. So I found out later that, yes, there was a leak in that area, and that's what happened. This morning, I'm in Bristol, and I see a vehicle that looks like a BCWA. Matter of fact, a very ratty vehicle. And I'm saying, this looks like a BCWA vehicle, but there's no signs on it. What is he doing here? So, the reason I think I'm bringing this up is important. I have talked to Ken about where they were with this, but I'm concerned that people should know, number one, that if BCWA is working in an area, and the truck should be identified so people know that vehicle is there and they're working on the water line, okay? And number two, there may be vehicles out there that look like, and that's what I thought this one was, because it was so ratty. There may be vehicles out there that look like BCWA utility vehicles, but could be doing things that they wouldn't necessarily be doing, okay? And then again, BCW vehicles that are gonna be marked with signs are less likely to be places where they're not supposed to be. So, I turned to Ken, and we discussed this. Where are we with signs on vehicles? How many, I guess one of my questions is, how many vehicles don't have signs? None of them have signs? They
No,
used to.
they're-
All of them had signs on the doors and the back of the
The
vehicle.
signs that were there.
Now, what I'm seeing is, I guess a lot of them that don't have any sign at all.
Most of them do not have signs now. The signs that were there before were magnetic removal signs, which, for whatever reason, somebody chose to go that direction. We have issued a purchase order, it's been out there for a little while, to a company in Bristol who is fabricating signage for them. I spoke with him on Monday. I was hoping hopefully by tomorrow, I get back from him to bring in two. We have blue trucks and we have white trucks. So we're gonna blue trucks, blue signs on the white trucks, white signs on the blue trucks, so it's contrast and visible. So we're gonna do two of those. I was hoping you'd be in this week with the two, just make sure that the scale and the size fit the door panels. And as soon as we agree with that, and stamp the rest of them out.
Would they be magnetic so they could be removed?
No, these are vinyl stick-on, they're not removable.
All right, good.
Will they have signs in the rear?
We will have, I'm at this point talking to him about the cost, because we could do that with I can
Small.
print the bumper sticker out with that
Yeah.
information on it, cheaper on a company on the internet than having it fabricated. But we're negotiating.
This one I saw today had a Bruin sign on the back.
Yeah.
And a couple other things with it. So that's why I didn't think it was, I thought maybe it was a contractor's truck, but evidently it wasn't.
I will check that, I appreciate that, Ray, but, I've spoken with the members, they fully understand the spotlight they're under and
Absolutely.
provide it, And again, it's like anything else. Respect, during the water break time period, I received a call from a resident who was irate because two people were sitting in the truck for 15 minutes with the heat on, and I had to explain why. So we will get feedback like that, that's welcome, and that's fine, as long as we have an explanation for it.
I think more important though is like, especially since we had these recent line breaks, it would be very advantageous to have the identity that, it's the BCWA in there working on a line, working on the system, period, which is more important. So if something happens to a neighbor, they lose water or whatever, at least they know there's something going on in the neighborhood.
I think at one time,
Very short term, we'll have the sign.
Okay.
all of the trucks at one time, years ago.
Yeah, they always
had
Well, that's the
them.
problem
And
with
maybe as those vehicles were done away with, actually the signs were with them, or
Well,
I think we
the problem
find
with
the
removable
vehicles-
signs is they can be removed, whether removed by, if they're parked on the street, somebody decides.
somebody
to
can
take
take-
them off.
sure,
So
I understand.
The logic behind that doesn't make sense, so.
Well,
You
I
know,
have a
number
Williams
of
Dollar
vehicles
car,
that,
All right, it's been addressed, right?
like the street sign.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so. Get that.
Medicum Avenue.
Medicum Avenue.
Medicum Avenue, there we go.
Contaminated soils. It ended up being a much bigger project than we had thought it was going to be. Contamination went pretty deep, so it took them a lot longer. We had to remove a lot more soils. We also had more remediation, more paperwork. We had to install wells for testing along the property line so that in the future we can make sure there's nothing there that migrates. So it ended up costing us a considerable amount of money. We're looking at $55,000 for all the engineering work that was involved, including installing the wells. And we're looking at about $48,000 for the soil removal. It had to be removed as contaminated soils. Right now, we have sufficient funds in the contingency for the pump station, because it was such a large project, so we're not asking the board to approve any additional funding for this. but to approve the addition to the engineering task order and for the contractors to add $48,000 to the up to $48,000 for the contractors' contract agreement.
So you just need approval for the change order
Yes,
without any money.
without any money at this point.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think when you first brought this to our attention back in the fall, I think you had mentioned around $50,000.
Yes,
So this is as close.
well, it doubled overall. So we were considering with the soil, we did this as well. So, but it ended up, I think we went about 15 feet deep.
Holy man.
It ended up being much larger than we thought it was. Unfortunately.
Okay. Number 10, January water break information.
That's the breakdown of the out of service.
Okay.
Right, the board had requested, get about the number of hours.
And the commentary indicated that this is not being tracked. It says BCWA is not specifically tracking time out of service for water breaks and repairs. So this is an approximate. And it says future data collection efforts by work order management solutions and mobile mapping will allow for accurate reporting of this data. And I thought we were using that tool now.
We are, but it doesn't have these full capabilities yet. We're still working on them. We still have more data that has to be inputted into the program and more connections that need to be made within the program itself. And there's a new version coming out in the fall, I believe, that will have more capabilities as well.
Does what we have now have the ability to track time that a customer is without water?
No, it doesn't. What it does is sends a work order to an individual and it'll mark the times that he responds, but it would be from the time he gets the order, goes out to the site, looks at what needs to be done, so it doesn't actually time in the shut-offs. What we're looking to do is, which we've been working to develop for the past year, is a system where when they shut down a valve, they can just tap that on the map, the valve is marked as closed and it's timed. And then when you go back through at the end of the night, sometimes when you're working in the middle of the night, it's you want to make sure everything is tracked properly, what's open, what's closed. You go back at the end of the night, open that valve back open, and it'll track the time. So that will give us the actual timing that we're looking for. We've been looking at setting this up over the last year. So
Yeah, because in terms of a customer, I can't imagine anything more important than the time that they have been without water.
more important when they can get put back on time-wise, but our numbers are incredibly low for the amount of time it takes our crews to restore. Usually you're looking at more like 12 hours in a lot of systems.
I was frankly surprised because I think, as I mentioned at the meeting in January, I had a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from somebody who, was saying they'd been without water for at least 12 hours, and then I had a phone call the next morning at 7 saying they'd been without water for a whole day. So that
The
was
one that was the 12 hours was that Bristol one downtown.
yeah. Believe me, I tried to figure out who called me so I could call them and to let them know it was back on.
It was back on, yeah. That one was the one that was very complicated. There was a lot of pipes in there. We did break another sewer line there. We had the sewer company come out and fix it. Again, their line was directly under ours. We had a gas main in the area. It was, and that was the night it was below zero. So it was, that was a really difficult repair. But as you can see, and this is our crews were going constantly. It was going from one to the next for quite a period of time.
Are these all, there's 30 of them?
That in that period of time,
Oh,
yes.
so there's some others besides this?
This is from the 28th to
To the 20th,
the
yeah.
20th of January. Then it started warming up and it slowed down. We've had a few more since then, but it
Well,
slowed down
that's
quite
my
a bit.
question.
Yeah.
We have had a few more.
We've had a few more. But they're spread out quite a bit more. And when you get one after the other like this, it's very difficult to be able to, especially for the shutdown times. And we actually called in our contract, we had our contractor and we actually called in Bristol as well.
I stuck my head in the hole on State Street, up there, First Street there. We had a break and it was amazing. The pipes going all over the place. There's water on top of sewer, on top of gas, on top of, absolutely amazing. The guys, and you had a 3-member crew. Usually something like that, you have 7 or 8 guys. But we had three guys doing that. Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the temperature was like 6 degrees.
Yeah. And they had trouble, the foreman had trouble getting guys to leave. Because they could go home. He's trying to time them out so they could get some rest because he knew we were having one break after another. And so, no, I'm on this job, I'm finishing it.
Beautiful job.
Okay, number 11. Pawtucket pipeline update. Did we cover that sort of, or?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we covered that pretty well.
12, fiscal year 2019 strategic plan update. Everybody has a copy of that?
Is this done every year at this time?
Yes,
It's updated on an annual basis?
yes.
I had a lot of comments, and I think the simplest thing just is to pass it over.
On the strategic plan,
Yeah, there were things that I thought weren't clear, there was some repetition, et cetera.
Okay.
Okay, number 13. Anybody have questions on this plan? Or?
no, I'm, Gina just, I assume that staff will address those and get back to Gina on that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Board correspondence. CA, I believe. No comment. Okay. Next on the agenda is
No correspondence.
Executive session?
executive session. Okay, need a motion. Let's see. Joe, how about we read these by the letters and the numbers, each one?
Yep.
Okay.
This is still on.
Yes.
Yes.
Pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5A-2, and again, number 42-46-5-A7, 42-46-5A-2. Need a motion for us to go into executive session
So moved.
session for these 3 topics?
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, John's not here. Take another vote when he comes back, or we all set?
You have a quorum.
Yeah, you have a quorum.
Okay. When we come out, no further business to be discussed, we'll just adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Done.
See you later.